Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me in the back. So my name is Elaine Nsoesie. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Public Health and assistant director of research at the Center for Anti-Racist Research. And today I'm going to talk to you about the racial data tracker. The goal of the racial data tracker is to track racial data over time and space, to visualize and analyze this data to highlight racial inequity. So in order for us to be successful, we need to work with all of you. So people with different backgrounds, people from data science, public health, social sciences, many other fields. But most importantly, we want to work with communities that are being impacted by racial injustice. We're building a comprehensive catalog of racial data across multiple topics. We started with 6 topics: health, education, employment, housing, criminal justice, and politics. And we believe that having all of this data in one place can empower communities, journalists, activists, policymakers to demand and create change. We also think this data can be useful for teachers and students to also learn about racial inequity. In addition to collecting this data, we're asking questions about how racial data is collected and reported. So Katie Anderson talked a little bit about this. So who is collecting and reporting this data? What is being reported? And equally as important is what is not being reported, and how is it being reported? So for example, looking at data on health outcomes collected from state and federal databases, what we're finding that for a single outcome, you can have in 1 year have 3 racial categories reported, in another year you have 30 racial categories reported. So it's really difficult to use this data. We're creating visualizations as well for stakeholders to be able to understand this data and use this data. So on the screen, you have a static visualization. We also have interactive visualizations. So this shows you racial and ethnic disparities in unemployment from 2018 to 2020. And this goes from bottom to top. The colors go from light to dark. Darker colors indicate higher values. Every single bar is a month. It goes clockwise from January to December. The larger the bar, the higher the value as well. So what you see from year to year is that, as we all know, 2020 had significant higher unemployment rates compared to the other years. But most importantly, if you look across the racial groups, you see that Blacks and Hispanics consistently have higher unemployment rates compared to the other groups. Lastly, we're using this data for research, and we're hoping that once we go public, others will also use data for research. And there's so many research questions that we can ask. The first being looking at trends over time. So we have longitudinal data. We can look at how racial disparities have changed over time. Have they increased? Have they stayed the same? Have they decreased? We can also quantify the impact of structural racism and link it back to the outcomes that we're interested in studying. Another thing we can study is gaps in this data and the implications of using biased racial data in decision making. So for example, if we have biased racial data and we use that in training an algorithm in the hospital and use that to decide about resource allocations, treatment decisions, what are the implications of that? How does it impact an entire population? And lastly, we can quantify racial inequities and link this back to the policies, the practices, and the systems that create and perpetuate these inequities. That's all I have. I would like to thank our amazing team. We've had over 15 interns working this project, and also want to acknowledge our center staff and collaborators. Thank you.